guys doing a one second?
Yep.
Thumbs up. Okay. Good evening, and welcome to the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting for Monday, September 20th, 2021. We'll have call to order and our roll call.
Claudio Gorpetti.
Mary Larson here.
Judy Iverson.
Jeanette June.
Brian Vincent.
Okay, and so we have a quorum, so we can proceed. We have 2 absent. So we will approve minutes from the prior regular meeting. Any discussion, corrections, or changes on our minutes from last meeting? August 16th? Changes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second, anyone?
Second.
Okay, good. Okay, we have no in-house representatives today to,
We'll need to take a vote there, Judy.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. A vote to approve?
Approve minutes, yep.
Okay, do we all agree? Approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. So we have no in-house persons wishing to bring anything to our attention tonight, so we'll move into old business.
I have one
Okay,
point, and this is just more of a detail, but the trail and between Lakebridge and Watermark, the paved portion going down the hill is starting to delaminate quite a bit. So when you're going down the hill, not separating across, but kind of down the length this way.
On the
Like on the Watermark side.
right.
So it's really steep, and I've just noticed that it's starting to, at some point in time, they're gonna get pretty treacherous and maybe eating bicycle tires and that, just,
Got it. We will take a look at that. Thank
Yeah, I would say it's already treacherous.
yeah, I mean, it's treacherous when it's paved really well.
Well, no, I think there's so many roots that have grown through with all those big trees over there that all the pavement is heaved. There's a lot going on.
And the sidewall is collapsing some, so, but yeah, just,
Okay. And my guess when that went in, they didn't put a substantial base in what we do today down as well either, because that's a fairly old trail.
okay. Any other comments or suggestions? No. Okay. So we'll move into old business, and we're going to look at updating our 2022 capital improvement plan for parks and trails.
Sure. Good evening. As you guys are well aware that we spent a significant time in 2021 ranking over 32 different park projects that were identified in throughout a really long discussion. Some of those projects existed prior to that discussion, and some of them were added into the discussion. And the committee had gone through and developed criteria to rank them and spent several months working on that ranking. And so the updated CIP for 2022 through 2030, and I have just highlighted some of the top ones from 22 to 2025. And these are in order of which you guys had ranked them. So the pickleball courts are identified for 2022. We have neighborhood trails. It's $50,000 every other year that we do some improvements, like at Watermark, for example. That's the kind of money we use for those trails. The Lions tennis court got pushed out to 2022. And I think that'll probably be a bigger discussion in conjunction with those pickleball courts as well. Lakeside Estates Park Phase 2 out to 2023, and then Bayfront Plaza improvements in 2024, and then the Lions Shelter 2 renovation in 2025. So I included, I know this is really hard to see, but I've included it all the way, actually it goes out to 2031. So all of those projects that were identified through that process are included, at least through the 2031 time period, have been included in the CIP that will be going to council fairly soon. So again, we had updated that improvement plan and identified and ranked 32 different projects. And again, this is something we'll do on an annual basis, so there are always opportunities that sometimes present itself that will, could move a project up or down based on circumstances that we don't really know about today. So it will be an annual process that we go through just to make sure that, these projects are in the right order. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but the work that you guys did, it was a lot. And so we're just looking for a motion to ratify and recommend the 2022 through 2031 capital improvement plan for park projects.
And Ann, this is Jeanette, I'm just going to reaffirm that things on that list can move up, down, altogether, depending on next year, what happens. We get some wonderful grant money, something. So I'm just reaffirming that.
Yes, it will be an annual process, and yeah, for example, I'll just use one example, we had pushed out one of the playground last year because something else came up, so we utilized those funds for that, different projects. So yeah, there's certainly, again, always something that potentially could happen that would shift these up or down on an annual basis, so yeah.
And the only other comment I would make is looking at it again is I would, the pickleball courts and the tennis courts are listed as two separate items, but I strongly encourage us as we move forward to look at combining those two, to put a new tennis court with the pickleball courts rather than having one separate 50,000 and, the other one. And I know we toured some courts, but at Starring in Eden Prairie and at Roundhouse Park, you have pickleball courts with the central aisle going down the middle, and at the end of that aisle is the tennis court. So it's a combined effort, and that way you get your tennis court in one space. So I'm just highly encouraging that.
Yeah, and I think if the opportunity presents itself, certainly for if the top selection was to go out to the rec center, for example, we wouldn't have enough room to do that.
Yeah.
So we'll have to keep our options open, and certainly note that, yes, it would be ideal if we could do that.
Yeah.
On that subject, I read somewhere that, like, for every tennis court, you can get 2 pickleball courts in. Is that consistent with what? Mm-hmm. And I guess I was at a baseball tournament this summer and saw a community, might have been Roseville, that had that combination. And it looked like they had some kind of equipment box outside the tennis court that allowed them to pull the pickleball nets out.
I would not recommend doing temporary pickleball nets. I would not recommend doing pickleball courts and tennis courts together where you have both lines and that you're setting up pickleball nets. I would not recommend that at all. That it would be, what I'm suggesting is what's at Starring and at Roundhouse, is you have pickleball courts, and then at the end, there's a separate tennis court. So, yeah, I would not recommend.
So you'd rather not have anything than I'm not, that's the
Yeah.
wrong way of posing it.
Yeah,
I mean, if we looked at pickleball courts 4 years from now and combination courts next year possibly, I mean, what are your thoughts there? Knowing that we're still going forward with the, full official pickleball court somewhere down the line.
no, I would not recommend it. People won't play on it. They're used to having permanent nets, and that's where they gravitate to.
I guess there's a lot of wear and tear on temporary ones too.
Yeah, you're putting them up, taking, yeah. And then, yeah.
I just saw a lot of people playing on it, so. Just-
Any other questions or comments related to that CIP? Otherwise, we would entertain a motion.
I move to ratify and recommend the 2022 to 2031 capital improvement plan for park projects.
And a second?
I second that.
So moved.
Did you all in favor, Judy?
Hmm.
All in favor?
Pardon?
You have to ask for all in favor.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0, that, excuse me, passes. The next item on the agenda is the trail gap review or priority review. At the, and I believe that you guys are well aware of this, at the August 9th city council meeting, the council directed staff to cease work on the Bavaria Trail because we couldn't come to an understanding with the property owner where we needed some permanent easements from. So they asked that the Park and Rec Committee review the trail gap priority list that we spent another long period of time on ranking and developing criteria and having significant discussions about. So as you're aware, the Bavaria Trail east side was scheduled for this year, and unfortunately, we will be moving on. The 2A was the Church Lake Road or County Road 43 trail. As you can see, County Road 11 is kind of that highlighted area on your right too. And then the pink dashed line on top is the potential trail connection that would meet up with a trail, existing trail that is in Watermark. You guys are well aware that, again, this site has very steep grades. It has wetlands. There is, again, county road issues, so it will certainly be a challenging project to work on. But again, it was identified as our next up project. After that, we also then had 2B, which was the LRT extension from Kirke, Lachen out to Lakebridge. We have roughly about 6.5 acres of private property. That is the noted in the bright green that we would have to purchase. So again, another challenging trail project. And then I just wanted to note, we'll go back to our list. With the addition of Wassermann Lake Park or Lake Preserve, we have been getting some phone calls from the residents in the Rhapsody and Ambergate area. So this trail is currently ranked 6th on our list. It was before the completion of Wassermann Preserve. This would be from Tellers Road down to likely at some point down at the entrance area of the park. Again, county road, challenging slopes. a crossing of County Road 43. So again, not an easy project, but I did want to make note that I have been getting a few phone calls about this project as well. And again, these are all ones that we evaluate and look at, or will look at it on an annual basis. But I wanted to bring this back at the direction of the city council for you guys to have a discussion, and then provide some direction to them and the staff on the next up project.
And which road was it that the county wanted to make 4 lanes, the city decided to go 2 lanes, and then there was discussion about trails, and I think it was foregoing the trails.
That was Marsh Lake Road.
Okay,
So that's south of, I'll see if, I don't know if it's in this map. No, it's not. So it's south of this park area. So it is identified in the long-term plans of the county to be a county road. And their preference was to build it to the county road standards based on future projections of traffic. The neighbors in the area felt that it wasn't ready yet to be a county road. So the city made the decision to go ahead and reconstruct Marsh Lake Road as a 2-lane road, maintaining its rural feel, so there's no curb and gutter. And then the trail piece, I think it was about 1.2 or 1.5 million, and the council decided not to go with the trail in that
just want to
situation.
make sure it didn't
Yeah, no,
go up again, it reincarnated somewhere.
yeah.
On the Lakebridge connection, Lachen to Lakebridge, is outright purchase of the property, it seems like a very straightforward and probably desirable. Are there any other creative ways of getting access to that property that, I mean, if I owned it, I probably would want, if somebody's willing to pay for it, I'd probably want to get paid for it. But then I thought about, would they be willing to lease it? And instead of having a lump sum cash payment, getting a 50-year payment to compensate for access to it, or
And certainly there are ways, if you, the piece of trail that actually we connected up into Watermark, it was negotiated with the property owner, to pre-dedicate that land.
right.
And so that's how we got that connection done. So there are ways probably with which to do it. It would come down to just having that conversation with the property owners to see if they would be willing to, would you provide us with a permanent easement over it for trail purposes?
What sorts of properties are these? Are they industrial or
No, single-family homes.
homes? Okay.
Yep.
You see the green line? Where so if you look where,
So, yeah, so this is Kirke Park, you can't see my mouse, but the red piece on the right is Kirke, and then there are 3 different property owners. The city owns the spot that's not marked, but then there are 3 other property owners, private property owners in there, and then the long piece is part of the Haney property, which is about a 40-acre piece.
so there's 3 pieces, two pieces that would have to be purchased.
4
Property
properties.
owners?
Yep.
Yeah, so the long rectangular sections used to be, those were back in 20 years ago or 15 years ago, that was railroad property.
Okay.
And I have 2 questions. On 2B, when we were just talking about, We've got 2026 cost of 75,000, an estimate of 450 for 27, and another 450 for 28. Is that construction and property acquisition?
Just property acquisition.
Okay. And then the second question is related to 2A, County Road 43 to Watermark. 2024, we've got 875K in that. Is that construction cost, or is that also some property acquisition?
Only construction costs.
Okay.
Again, it's a guesstimate based on prices we have seen.
And the challenge of the sites?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's just construction costs, so no acquisition, because we don't know if we'd need to yet.
Okay. Thank you.
At one time when when we went through this ranking, we talked about maybe asking St. Victoria if we could maybe go back through their property instead of going all the way up to 11, maybe sneaking through the back of their property to avoid some of that. Could that still be part of it?
That's a real challenge because it's all private property through there, even to get to the church. So all the property owners that are along that north side of, I think there's 1, 2, 3 or 4 private property owners along that section. And then there are really steep grades on the backside of the church. So I don't know if that would be a good alternative or not.
Well, and as a biker, steep grades is not real,
Yeah.
real attractive anyway. So, and that is a steep road anyway. And I could tell you the way I bike to get to downtown from Laketown is I come through Deer Run, and I come through Woodstone Drive, and I come through Watermark. That's the way I go to get to downtown. So I've been thinking about this, and because I don't like that steep road on Church Lake Road, I come through Watermark, and I've been wondering this, like, is it worth $1 million to do this trail up this hill? There's not a complete trail that goes through Watermark. We bike on the road, and then we get to the trailhead on Kirklock, and then we take that to downtown.
This connection, I think, connects quite a few between Lakebridge and Watermark and
Rhapsody and
Rhapsody, yeah.
Ambergate
yeah,
and
there's a lot of stuff that just short distances would.
yep. Deer Run, even though there's no trails within Deer Run, Gallery. But no, I get it. And it's, one of the reasons that generally these type of trails get done with road improvements is they try to take into consideration the steepness of roads and, adjust them if they can, and especially if there's trails tied to them. So.
Yeah, it's a steep hill.
I know it's very deceiving if you drive it.
In a car.
If you drive it, you can't tell, but if you were out walking it, yeah, it is steep.
Oh, really? I never noticed. I never walked it.
Yeah,
You will now, if you drive it, you'll notice it.
Yeah,
it's a long hill.
Yeah.
long,
So, yeah, when we looked at the list and I've identified all these trail gaps, I have said multiple times, none of them are easy. That's why they're not done. They're expensive because there's so many issues with them. So they're all going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
So Mary, what you're saying is, even with that trail going the way it is, you're saying it's pretty steep.
It's a steep hill. As a biker, I'm not sure that I'd go up that hill unless there was a way for the grade to change. I'd probably still bike through Watermark. So, I mean, the serious road bikers would do it, but I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, going down would be a lot.
Yeah, going down would be great. So it's a dilemma. That's why I thought if we could, cut to the church and you take part of that hill out of the equation, but if you still have to get up through that grade.
Yeah.
and just driving it along the sides, the gullies. I mean, I just don't even know how we would
Retaining
fill
walls.
that and-
Yeah, it would require retaining walls, probably fairly tall retaining walls. And then to get across the wetland, the blue hashed, it would definitely require boardwalk. So it's an expensive,
So we may find ourselves saying, hey, this costs X and we could do 2 other projects or 3 other projects we'll have to see how that all pans out.
I don't know, when I'm looking at the list of what we would suggest next, obviously I was looking at, okay, which one's the least cost? But every time I go to the next column and I go, but you need the right of way, you need grading challenges, you need property, and it's like, to purchase property, it's like none of them are easy to pick from And I was thinking back on that list, we had a criteria list. Remember, there were 5 or
Yes.
7 things that
Yep.
we evaluated on impact to the public or, danger or cost. And this is just tough. There's just,
If you can get the property, the Lakebridge, Kirke and connection is pretty easy because it's mostly rail bed.
Straight shot.
But if you can get the property, that's the
which one are you talking about? The
number 2B.
2B.
2B? Yeah.
Yep, because it's an old railroad bridge, so there's some overgrowth in there, but once you get rid of that, it's a solid rock.
If they only would have given it to the city back then.
Yeah, it's
But the city says, who would ever want to build them?
yeah,
A trail
it's
there.
unfortunate, but it is what it is. You get to deal with
It's the
that.
middle of a farm. Who would put a trail in the middle of a farm?
And then the other thing I look at is that, what's the public gonna look at, saying, why did you do this little one when it's not impacting, that many people? This one would have impacted a lot more people, and I don't know.
Well, maybe when we go back and look at these again, we just take a look at the criteria.
I'm happy to bring that back to the next meeting. We can,
I mean, to your point, that, you wouldn't bike it. I don't think that was, I don't know if that discussion occurred or not, but all we need is a trail to nowhere.
I know,
You know?
I know. It's
Well,
and back then,
Yeah, good point. Yep.
But even a steep hill, like that one would be, I'm not
yeah,
sure
and
just casual walkers, I mean, you might have some, but it would be,
we had engineering challenges as one of the
yeah.
criteria that would speak to that. So, maybe we take a deeper dive into it.
Maybe we do a chairlift.
chairlift.
Well, and then
The zip line to go across.
I mean, believe it or not, the easiest one is the paving from the Steer Lake boat landing out to Rolling Acres Road, because it's all in public hands. So that's the easiest one from a construction standpoint, from a environmental standpoint, from an engineering standpoint.
At number 5,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the easiest one.
Well, and 43 to Teller's Road to Wasserman would be lovely to do because of the park, but
It's
until that property is developed, it feels like we're putting the cart ahead of the horse here.
Well, if it gets developed, they'll probably put a path in.
That would be part of the development process, yes, that we would get
I
that.
think crossing at the park is not easy. I think you'd have to cross at one of the streets in where the developments are, because you can go into the park, through the neighborhood. I think it'd be really challenging to cross right there.
Yeah, and especially at a 50-mile-an-hour,
It's curvy.
Yeah.
It would be a challenge.
it's a challenge.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't cross there. I don't even like to bike on that road. I'm just saying.
And nothing's going on County Road 43, that 11 to Watermark. There's nobody's coming out there.
Planned
Yeah, that we could
improvements, not that I'm
back
aware
on.
of, no.
The only thing I see is that it's a busy road. I mean, it would be, safety for people to have a place to walk on.
Yeah, and we've been in, contact with the county to talk about, improved signage and, it's, they have a different take on what their
So many
county roads are
people ask
versus.
me, or why, I was with a group of people a short time ago, and I went to see it, and I missed it, and why isn't there a better sign? And, Paisley Park has a sign telling us that Prince's place, why can't we have one for Wassermann Preserve?
Are you saying just a little road sign?
Yeah, just, a heads up, of what is it, about 100 feet
Yeah.
or 50 feet before, it's coming up, so, okay, be ready to make your turn. Most people know where it is. I say, it's just past Blessings, and it's a left turn if you're coming, from the east, and, okay, well, I missed it. Yeah.
It's easy to miss.
It is.
Yeah, so one of the things that we will do is, I had been waiting on some information from the county before going ahead, but I think we'll put like a street sign at the, where we put a stop sign, a temporary stop sign in. We'll put a directional sign there. That's gonna probably be the best that we can do. With this permanent sign, we had to put it back. The county wanted right-of-way for future improvements of County Road 11, or 43, sorry. So we had to put the sign back in order to accommodate that right-of-way request. Otherwise, at some point down the road, we'd have to move it, so. That's why it sits back so far, too.
So these road signs that say Sam's Diner, 1 mile away, something like that is totally out of the question?
They have not, taken that request, and real well. It's odd, but
Too easy. I'll get my posthole digger. Right here. Or we can get one of those big mannequins or the air balloons that use car lots use.
their policy states it has to be of regional significance, that lots of people go there, that's their regional significance.
What's the fine for, I shouldn't ask that in a public, for putting an unauthorized sign up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was looking for a motion, but if you guys want to, what we have in the budget for 2022 is some engineering dollars for trails that, and County Road 43 is that one that was next up, per your guys' discussion, so, we could spend some time on this, and it's not gonna have a big impact on, the CIP.
Yeah, the only thing I would say, just as you mentioned, the Lake Minnetonka Regional Trail paving to the boat launch. That's the easiest to do, least expensive. I mean, if we wanted to do something now while dollars are cheaper, I would move that one up.
And that one has always been premised by, usually we do, I want to go back to it's always been premised on the county getting a grant, state or
Oh, okay.
local grant
Oh, okay.
to help with that, so it's been kind of that 50-50 partnership. So I'd have to verify that those dollar amounts
Still there.
actually is probably only half the cost
Yeah,
that's identified in the CIP.
okay.
And we had talked once before putting a path along 5, but then you had to cross the bridge. Was that just totally out of the question to think about that connection instead of the LRT
5 to
downtown?
from Lakebridge.
Yeah, to the trail.
You're talking about number 7 on this
I'm
list?
talking about number 2B.
Okay.
Alternative.
As an alternative. It would be really challenging because it's a state road, not a car. County roads are challenging, state roads are almost.
Okay,
We did put in enough, when the bridge went in, we did include pedestrian, room for pedestrian on that bridge. So getting down to it is a challenge too, like from where the
Yeah.
5 is.
close though.
Yeah, it is. The other option, I know that there was some discussion about, from Kirke and trying to scoot out into the wetland area. That's significant too, if you had to put boardwalk
Right.
all the way from Kirke and out to Lakebridge. I don't know how you'd do it without crossing private property.
Yeah.
So I know we've looked at, contemplated that one as well, so.
So with 2A, we're looking at really starting to do some engineering around that. Is that what you were just saying?
Yes,
And that would get us closer to like a real number
Yes.
in terms of what it's gonna,
yes. And, yeah, design.
I'm
To
wondering.
see if we'd have a pretty good preliminary budget number done for that in 2022. And what the challenges would be associated with that, yes.
I'm wondering if in parallel, we should start to have those conversations with the private, on 2B, the private property owners to explore the permanent easement and some of those things.
I do it a little bit in parallel.
And then, I'm sorry, Ann, on the boat ramp to Rolling Acres, that would be, like, you really only do it if you can get that grant, right? Is that what you're suggesting?
The dollar amount that's within the CIP is a 50/50 grant, a dollar amount, so it's
That's the
not.
assumption.
It's not, it's not that we couldn't do it or wouldn't do it, but generally those, like this improvement out here, it was a county, city, they had gotten a grant for it, so they paid for 50% of it and we paid for 50% of it.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are the engineering fees to do that?
Which one?
And if we were to go ahead and do the 43 to 11?
So the fees, the fees for the Bavaria Trail one, I want to say were about 70,000. I don't think that we'd have to spend that much now that we kind of have been through that process. We could do some very preliminary engineering to get a better cost, but it probably would still, I'm gonna take a guess here at 20 to get a budget estimate for, maybe ideal layout, but it'll still cost us some money to do it.
Yeah, because that's what I wouldn't want to throw a lot of money at it if we're really,
It's really not going to be a workable project long run.
20,000 sounds like the cheapest number I've ever heard talked about
And
spending in this playground is 50,000. I mean, it's, and it's a high priority. If it's only 20, if you're gonna spend 100, then I'm going.
yeah, 20,000 feels a lot better. If it was 70, I'd
Yeah.
be like,
Yeah. We budgeted 75, but that's for development of plans and specs and construction management and, but so that was the total dollar amount that would have been projected for the Bavaria Trail piece.
okay.
So I think we don't have to get to that expensive point, knowing that we've got issues here, but we can get a little bit closer, so.
But it kind of feels like we need to know,
Yep,
is this doable or not? Because if this is It feels like a $20,000 investment would tell us if this is really worth $1 million investment, because if 875 or whatever was the number a while ago, it's probably gonna be closer to $1 million. And that could help us decide if this is going to be an investment worth it for this community or not.
And it would be interesting, as we were talking about, if it's going to be retaining walls and perhaps making some grade changes.
Maybe,
Lessen the grade, like have it lower than the street. I mean, the hill part. You could,
Or have it literally, or have the trail just keep going.
right.
Not
The
go up the
road's up
hill.
here and the trail's going
slower
beneath.
grade, yeah,
A lower,
and- yeah.
straighter grade maybe might be doable if there's enough, banking up along the side of the road, of course, and just kind of like a little tunnel.
Because if you have
along-
to cross wetlands, you don't have to cross it. Well, you just punch it in a little bit.
So it might be interesting to see what a engineering
Yeah.
perspective would be to just give
I
us.
like the idea of the 20, and then even Brian's idea of preliminary discussions on the right of way. Because is there any cost or much cost associated with that, Ann?
With right-of-way?
Just under the discussion with the homeowners?
Oh. Generally not.
pros and cons to that.
So you're gonna give them preferential treatment on snow clearing?
Unfortunately, that's not how it works. And, put yourself in the place of the property owner, so keep that in mind, that,
Oh, yeah.
That's how deep their lots, I mean, if it's something they're very deep lots and it's something that's well out of their view, I mean, so
I've walked it, and it's, some people would say you wouldn't even know.
that's what I'm thinking.
And my wife says, yeah, they wouldn't even know, and I go, it's still my property, I don't know, I'd wanna give that to somebody, but if we get that flushed out, then those two options are, instead of waiting 2 years to come to the conclusion that we can't do either of them.
Yeah, because now we've lost a year on the whole Bavaria thing, so it feels like we've lost ground on getting a trail done. So
Yeah.
I'd feel better if we had some options. So yeah, I like that idea.
So do we have to modify the motion, Ann, or do we have, or can we?
you can certainly modify that.
So, work on the second priority trail. So second priority trail is 2A, 2B, kinda.
I would add, something to the effect that, and in conjunction with, or run parallel with contacting property owners for, preliminary discussions
On 2B.
on 2B.
Because we recommend that they begin work on a second priority trail. Is that consistent with if we got a preliminary estimate of cost, spent the 20?
We'd have to, what we'd have to do is, I'd want to talk to the city engineer to talk about what it is that we specifically want. We would solicit proposals from them, get that cost estimate back. It would come back to you guys for approval, and council. At least then we would know what specifically that dollar amount will get us for preliminary layout and an issues cost estimate.
So my question was specifically, if, let's assume let's just stick with this current motion. And we spent the $20,000 and said, we don't want to do this. Making that decision, is that contrary to this motion to the council? Or
Yeah,
it's like, wait, you guys just told us you want to begin work on it. And 2 months later, you're telling me you don't want to do it. Why did you tell me you
Can
want?
we say subject to engineering's estimate?
Why don't we make it real simple? Say we want to get an estimate, preliminary estimate on 43 and 11, and start preliminary discussions with
Homeowners.
homeowners.
Let's see if this works. I've been trying to jot down what you said, that just as, that we would direct staff to begin work on the second priority trail 2A and 2B in conjunction with some preliminary engineering studies and discussion with property owners. Does that do it?
Yeah, you want to say that again?
That we would direct the city council,
City staff.
direct staff to begin work on second priority trail projects 2A and 2B in conjunction with preliminary engineering studies and discussion with property owners.
What if you cut that middle part out, kinda? It said, recommend the city council direct staff to investigate feasibility on 2A and preliminary discussions with property owners on 2A and 2B, instead of telling them to begin work.
Right, to investigate.
Yeah, it's begin work that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Investigate preliminary costs and
Preliminary discussions.
right away, or, yeah, preliminary
Estimate, initial estimates and viability of a project like this.
You got that, Ann?
Yep, I think so. So I'm going to try this again. So direct city council staff to investigate feasibility and preliminary costs associated with priority 2,
2A, 2B.
2A, 2B. Period.
Yeah, and then during discussions, you say, here's what that means. Would that work? I mean,
I don't think we need in conjunction with. Investigate feasibility and preliminary cost estimates for a second priority, 2A, 2B.
yeah.
That's good. So do we have a motion
So moved as and specified.
and a
I
second?
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
No? All right. Phew.
Thanks, Ann.
Thanks, Ann.
Oh, thank you guys. That worked.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda for new business is the Swiss Mountain Playground replacement recommendation.
Yeah, so you guys know that the city has a playground replacement program where we generally schedule a replacement of a playground annually. We base the replacement of the playground on age, condition, and ADA compliance. We budget about $50,000 to complete the play area, which includes the playground surfacing. We usually improve the containers, add new benches, and then a lot of times we have trail connection that goes up to it. So we roughly leave about $10,000 for those kind of site improvements. We this year have the playground and the surfacing for a total cost of about $50,000 or $40,000, sorry, which leaves about $10,000 for those miscellaneous site improvements. The Swiss Mountain Tot Lot is about 25 years old. The Swiss Mountain lot is located off of Rolling Acres Road in Interlaken, which is north of Highway 5, and it sits on the east side of the road, just above Lake Tamarack. So one of the things that I like to do and generally do when we replace playgrounds in neighborhoods that are existing. We will send out letters and surveys asking them to complete the survey. In the case of this one, because it's such a small lot, it's like the size of a house lot, like 130 by 180. And it's just a tiny little playground that sits there. So questions were asked if you'd rather have something else, whether it be a shelter or a basketball court. And I think we sent out about 66 letters, and we received about 45% back, which I think is a huge percentage. And the playground replacement came in first, and then a half-court basketball was second. And we just don't have the money for replacing the entire park. So staff sent out requests for proposals from several different vendors of playground equipment. And then the next step is that I have the neighborhood come in and vote on which playground they like the best. And this year we had about, I think, 12 to 13 surveys or voting that came back in over about 10-day period of time. And the playground, which was submitted by Northland Recreation, it's a little Tykes playground. It's a structure, 5 to 12-year-old structure. It's got some kind of unique things to it. So, but that is the playground that the neighborhood selected number one. Not by a lot, but that was the number one playground from the neighborhood. So I did also have offered a neighborhood meeting last Thursday evening. I only had 2 people show up, so we gave them the opportunity to come in and see the playground and get the results and ask questions. So
What age is the little Tykes?
5 to 12.
Oh, 5 to 12.
Yes. So, and in your packet, it's got the layout and kind of the design, so.
So, Ann, do they put a new curb in around that and then fill it with wood chips?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Unless if the outside container is still okay, we would not do that, but we will look at it. Also, I've been in contact with the vendor, Northland Recreation, and it looks certainly like next year is going to be the soonest we can get it in with production and issues. So
it's pea gravel right now. They'll excavate all that, put the
Yes.
equipment in, put in
wood chip.
wood chips. Okay,
Yes.
great.
Yep. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions or a motion to recommend the purchase of the playground would be in order.
I make a motion to recommend a purchase of playground equipment from Northland Recreation and Safety Servicing at a cost of $40,000.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
This, it's what the residents want, and it's like,
I found it's just easier to get their input right up front.
No ninja wall, huh?
There was a cute little one that had some different kind of ninja-ish kind of things. It certainly wasn't a ninja playground, but it had those little qualities about it. So, but that one, trying to think where that one came in. It might have been the second one that they picked. Yeah.
Good. We're obligated to provide and replace, so I think that's our job to make sure they have a new playground and get their chance to have new equipment. So with that, I think we're up to our
Other business?
membership.
7-1. Again, just some information for you. I put a couple little items in there, and I know the mayor provided me with the Cayuga Trail information, so I wanted to pass that along to you guys as well. So
Interesting.
And one of the things that, very sad, the article about the little girl that had drowned in Edina, with the placement of the playground, it was a all-inclusive playground area, just ended up next to water without any,
That terminology was a little confusing to me, an all-inclusive
Yeah, I
playground.
didn't
I didn't quite
understand that.
understand that.
so that's one that it has, and I'd provided some information back about the inclusive playgrounds that, anybody can use them, from hearing impaired to wheelchair impaired, any disability. So it allows that interaction
Yeah.
in it, so.
I was just confused by all-inclusive, meaning it included being next to water.
That wasn't that doesn't, no,
That, yeah.
But unfortunately, yeah, it wasn't fenced in, and so,
yeah.
yeah.
So one of the things that, as part of this process with the playground selection, I asked for quotes on, like a poured-in-place, rubber surfacing. And then, there's a company now that does playground surfacing that is turf. So they have a indoor, well, it's an outdoor turf product that includes some padding that goes underneath of it. So for this playground alone, the poured-in-place concrete, or the poured-in-place rubber, was about $55,000, and the turf grass was like $57,000 to $59,000. So, one of the nice things is they're both very low maintenance, and they last, forever. Not forever, but they last a really long time compared to the wood chips. We continually have to put more in. At some point we are going to have to replace them all because of rotting, the weather that we have here. So one of the things that I'm going to be working on over the next couple of months is to do an evaluation of even though they cost that much money, over a period of 25 years, does the cost of the wood chips, the maintenance of them. So I want to do an evaluation of that to see if, is it cost effective, even though it's really expensive up front. So that will be coming back to you guys if it makes some sort of sense over a 25, 30-year period of time, so.
Yeah, that'd be.
I just noticed that on the play fields, be it Edina, be it Minnetonka, be it Wayzata, the youth sports, the little guys are playing on these artificial turf surfaces. So those cities probably have a lot of the cost spent. Well, any vendor's going to give it to you as well. Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. You look at that and you go, these are phenomenal fields. Can almost play pickleball on them.
Then the only other item under other business is the rec center membership and use reports. We're still plugging along. We're seeing a little bit of a decline yet, but August was still really nice out, so we're starting to. Pickleballers are going to start coming in again, and so I think our numbers are, and hockey is starting again, so we're going to see an increased amount of folks within.
Is COVID still giving you grief?
So far, we're okay. We've had one private camp that had come in, the gym, and one of the kids had tested positive for that, but they really were confined to the gym in their own group area, so.
I want to come back, but I'm a coward.
Yeah, we're still cleaning, and when, I get it, it's, especially when it's nice outside, so I get it. You're not the only one.
And your August numbers year to year are really not that bad. Again, like you say, I'm sure summer people tend to, that's not the time you're gonna sign up to do indoor gym, so. Let's hope let's hope for an early snowfall and everybody will come flocking back for memberships.
That's our hope.
So any other business, any other discussion, anybody? Anything else, Ann, that you want to
I do not have anything else.
keep us captive for? Okay. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, always wanted to do this.